Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sunset TV. I am Namrata Singh. India is at a pivotal moment in its AI journey, a moment defined by scale, impact and ambition. As AI becomes a driving force for inclusive growth and economic transformation, the country is fast emerging as a true frontier AI nation. Today, AI is no longer confined to labs or large corporations. It's reaching citizens everywhere, improving healthcare in remote areas, helping farmers make smarter decisions, transforming classrooms with personalized learning, making cities cleaner and safer, and strengthening public services through faster data-driven governance. India's approach is simple and clear: make AI open, safe, affordable and accessible so that innovation benefits everyone. So to understand why India is poised to become a global champion of ethical and inclusive AI and how the country is already putting this vision into action, so to explore all of this, I'm joined by a very special guest, Ms. Debjani Ghosh, on this edition of Explained, our series on artificial intelligence. Debjani Ghosh is a trailblazer in India's technology and innovation landscape. She currently serves as a distinguished fellow at NITI Aayog and is the chief architect of the NITI Frontier Tech Hub. So with more than 28 years of experience, including pivotal role at Intel and as the first woman president of NASSCOM, Ms. Ghosh has been instrumental in establishing India as a global hub for innovation, talent and digital transformation. Ma'am, welcome to Sunset TV and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To begin with, NITI Aayog has played a key role in shaping India's AI strategy, and as a chief architect of the NITI Frontier Tech Hub, you have been instrumental in positioning India as a global hub for innovation, talent and digital transformation. I just saw a few days back, I saw your fireside chat with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, where he had mentioned that, the winner of the global AI race won't be decided by the creator, but by the people who adopt it, which country adopts it. And you have also mentioned that India is prepared to lead for a large-scale adoption of AI. So, ma'am, when you talk about this, how well placed is India, to lead through rapid and widespread AI adoption?
Well, first, a little different point of view there.
Sure.
I do believe that to lead, you have to do both. You have to also innovate and you also have to create impact, right? You have to lead impact creation. And I think there is no option but for us to do both. We have to figure out how to significantly leapfrog the innovation cycle. How do we become a lead innovator, creator of technologies, creator of AI? And simultaneously, in parallel, we also have to figure out how to become the country that can show the world how to create true impact at scale across the entire population, right? Inclusive impact. So we have to do both. And, I think the pieces of the puzzles are all there, all the different. We have talent. We have really bright talent. We have the hunger. We have the need. I think where we have to now really get ahead of the game is R&D. And we have to figure out how to move from silo, because we're doing a lot of good work as it comes to adoption, but they are in silos. So how do we move from silo to scale? I think those are the two big challenges ahead of India.
Okay. So basically moving from silos to across sectors.
Yes.
In any ways, we are doing a good job in a lot of sectors, in healthcare, education, agriculture. And ma'am, Mr. Nadella also highlighted the company's mission to upskill 20 million Indians in AI by 2030, which is also quite a good initiative. So, ma'am, now I'm going to talk about NITI Aayog's AI's roadmap for Viksit Bharat, which highlights the potential of AI to drive growth across India. And so what does, when we say that potential, then what does this potential means, for a common man?
Sure. So I'll step back a little and talk about what is the NITI Frontier Tech Hub, because that will make sense, right? So the NITI Frontier Tech Hub is basically, our job one is to understand how is technology moving, the evolution of technology. So for example, what is the evolution of intelligence in the next 5 to 10 years? Where will AI go from here? What's next, right? What are the other big tech shifts that's going to be coming? Now, globally, it's been proven that when a tech shift is first spotted, it takes around 10 years for it to become mainstream. Usually, the countries that win the tech races or that, sort of get ahead in the tech game are countries that spot these trends early, anticipate them early, plan for them early, build capabilities, set the standards, and then get to the position where they're leading the narrative. Right? So our goal is to ensure that when the next mega shifts happen, because they're going to be far more disruptive than even AI or what we are seeing today, we do position India ahead of the curve so that India is in a position to lead these shifts versus trying to follow up or trying to catch up, right? So that's what the Frontier Tech Hub does. It's about understanding the evolution of technology, the potential evolution, and what it means for the country in terms of citizens, industry, government itself, national security, etc., and also global geopolitics, right? So this is what we study. So as part of that, one of the first roadmaps we came up with, which was launched by Honorable Ministers of Finance and IT, was the roadmap for accelerating economic development with AI. And this was the AI for Viksit Bharat roadmap. Very simply put, what we looked in that roadmap, or we studied in that roadmap, is where can AI have the maximum impact for economic acceleration? Where can it create? And we found two places. One, just improving productivity, basic productivity across sectors. Right? If India can just do that figure out how to use AI to improve productivity across key sectors, there itself we can add anything from around 600 to 800 billion in the next 10 years, incremental to the GDP. The second area is enabling companies or enabling sectors leapfrog innovation. And if we can do that, that's another roughly 300 to 500 billion that gets added to the GDP in the next 10 years, right? So collectively, I think if we can use AI right, we can add anything between 1 to 1.7 trillion, 7 billion in incremental GDP to the country's economic growth, right? So that's what we looked at. And then we went down, like for example, for productivity, what are the sectors where you'll get the maximum impact? Right? So we identified 4 sectors: manufacturing, financial services, pharma, and automotive. These were the 4 sectors. Then we looked at innovation. Where were you going to see the biggest impact? One of the biggest sectors where we think innovation impact is going to be the highest is pharma. Moving from generic drug development to novel drug development, right? That's going to be a huge opportunity for India. So this is what the roadmap goes into and then identifies what is needed to make it happen.
Roadmap also links AI's adoption directly, achieving India's ambition of 8% plus economic growth. What policy frameworks and infrastructure investments are critical to ensure that AI's ambition translates into tangible societal and economic impact, especially, uplifting India's massive informal workforce?
So if you look at let's break it down, right? Because the two are very different problems. If you look at economic impact, to unlock economic impact, I think, again, the foundation is coming together very well. With India AI mission, we now have a decent compute infrastructure. Compute is never enough. You always need more compute, and I'm sure they will continue to grow the capacities. You have to have a very strong skilling infrastructure that needs to come in place. You need to have a very strong R&D infrastructure that now with RDI, I think we will unlock that. I'm very, very hopeful we will unlock that. And last but not the least, the most important thing, which is data.
Okay.
And I think
Yes.
that's where India faces the biggest challenge, because though we are a data-rich country, our data sits in silos.
Right.
And access to data for innovation is a big challenge in the country.
Right.
So one of the things we have to fix is we have to figure out how to unlock the data in a safe, responsible way that can significantly boost innovation, right? So that's from an economic growth perspective. These are the elements that needs to come together. And I think the one thing we've called out in our roadmap is you can't have generic AI strategies anymore.
Yes, yes.
So you need to have sectoral AI roadmaps. So what is needed in the fintech sector? What is needed in manufacturing? What is needed in automotive? So we need to build out sectoral roadmaps, right? You asked about the informal sector, and
Right.
that's a very, very important question you asked, because that's nearly 500 million people, 50% of our GDP. And when we started the work to understand what could be AI's role in the informal sector, we found that there's hardly any study that has happened with respect to AI and the informal sector.
Right.
It's like an invisible sector when you talk about technology.
And it's a very important sector.
Without it, you cannot even imagine Viksit Bharat.
Exactly.
You have to grow this sector in order to realize the vision of becoming a developed nation. Right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, when we look at that sector, I think it starts from the basics. You need an end-to-end play, technology play, primarily driven by AI, that will bring in trust, that will bring in relevant skilling, relevant tools, relevant solutions, and also it will bring in an identity to the sector, which is
Right.
today lacking, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we have looked at in terms of what is needed for the sector. But we believe if these things can be done, you can significantly, more than 5x, grow productivity in that sector in the next 10 years.
Since ma'am, you were talking about the R&D and skilling and also generative AI, the report also mentions about generative AI being seen as the powerful tool to transform R&D and accelerate innovation in AI for Viksit Bharat. So in India's context, you know, where time, cost, finance matters a lot, how do you see generative AI helping shorten this R&D cycles and make innovation more affordable?
First of all, I'm not a fan of using the word generative AI. I think we give these names and they become buzzwords. Let's talk about AI, right?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the basics of deep learning and, you know, where that is going with neural networks. Anyway, so if you look at, let's take the example of drug discovery.
Okay.
Today, the use of AI, and especially the work that has happened in leveraging AI to understand protein structures, right? And DeepMind has led this work with AlphaFold, for which their founder won a Nobel Prize recently. This has unlocked tremendous potential, because if you understand protein structures, you basically understand the very foundation of life,
Right.
you know, the building blocks of life. And what this has enabled is significant advances in scientific discovery, areas like development of new drugs, areas like development of new treatment for cancer and other diseases, etc., etc. And what we've seen in drug discovery is the use of AI brings down not just time to develop the drug, but also the cost significantly. And that's where the real benefit lies.
Okay. Okay. So, ma'am, can we expect India to build its own large-scale, you know, AI model, something on the lines of ChatGPT or?
Well, I think
sometime
you
soon?
will already see it very soon. That's a key priority under India AI mission, to build India conversational models. But, you know, the large language models, while they are very useful and we are all using them today, that's not the future.
Okay.
The future is foundation models that will drive scientific discovery. The future is foundation models that will discover new proteins.
Right.
And I think India has to set its ambition higher. And we have to think about how can we build foundation models to drive the scientific discoveries that's needed for the future.
Okay. So, ma'am, when we talk about AI, there is a growing concern about jobs and daily lives. Yep. How we will adopt in our daily lives, and what will happen to the jobs with growing awareness of AI. So at the same time, NITI Aayog's roadmap for job creation in the AI economy points out that possibility of creating 4 million new jobs and proposes a national AI talent mission. So how do you, first of all, address these public fears around AI, and how can this particular mission, turns disruption into opportunity for India's workforce?
See, job disruption happens with every large technology shift. When steam engines came, people were worried what will happen to the horse carriage riders. They're all going to lose their jobs, right? They did. A lot of them did. But then they became the engine drivers, right? So you reskill people. And this is something that we have experienced every time there's been a major shift in technology. Even when computers were invented, you remember, I don't know if you remember, but there was major fear. What will happen? Computers will take 90s, everyone's jobs, etc., etc., right? So this is part and parcel of every mega tech shift. It's not new for AI. Yes, every significant technology shift does create major disruption in jobs. It displaces jobs that can be done better by the technology, and it creates new jobs. Similarly, we are going through the same cycle with AI. I think the only thing that is worrying is the pace at which AI is evolving, and the speed at which things are happening is something we are not used to. It's happening very fast. So what we looked at the tech sector, and India has roughly 8 to 9 million people employed in the technology sector, right? Around 6 million are employed in the tech industry, and the rest are employed in banks, hospitals, across industries, doing data analytics and other jobs. So what we found is, in the tech sector, there are some jobs which what we call routine jobs, right? And these are the jobs where you're going to get significant higher productivity with the use of AI. You're already getting around 15% productivity. In the next 2 years, 3 years, we expect it to go to around 50% plus, right? So what will happen is these jobs will get fully automated, and you will not need humans for these jobs. And that will impact around 2 to 2.5 million people, right? So in the next, till 2031, we do expect an impact of around 2 to 3 million, 2 to 2.5 million in the tech sector alone, right? Now that is a given. That is going to happen. The numbers can move up and down somewhat, but that's the range that's going to be impacted. And these are jobs like data entry operators, call center, the L1 coding, etc., software engineers, etc. These are all the lower end jobs which are going to be impacted. But that's one half of the story. The other half of the story is, at the same time, you're seeing jobs getting created. Right? And these jobs, when you add up, while 2 million will get displaced, we believe another 4 million can get created. But there's a big problem there. The jobs that are going away are very different from the jobs that are getting created. The jobs that are going away requires a lower level of skills, and they employ millions of people. Like data entry alone in India employs millions. The jobs that are getting created, hyper specialized, requires very high skilling, and at best employs 1,000 to 100,000 people. But the addition is what will give you the net boost, right? Now that significantly challenges our skilling ecosystem today. Are we skilling for these kind of jobs, or are we still skilling for the low-end jobs.
Right.
And how do we move from where we are to skilling for those to a very flexible, agile education ecosystem that is constantly anticipating the kind of skills that are going to be required and quickly refreshing their curriculum and their pedagogy to train for those.
Right.
And I think that is going to be the need of the hour, and that's why NITI has proposed the AI talent mission.
Okay. So basically the key is to upgrade yourself, upskill yourself.
That is a given. I mean, without that, I don't know how you're going to even succeed or survive in life. Upskill is a continuous process.
I think in every field.
But you also have to reskill.
Right.
A lot of what we have learned may not help us anymore.
Right.
So how do we unlearn what we have learned and then learn new technologies? Yeah.
Yeah. But ma'am, you know, the real test of this roadmap lies in execution. So what role can government, industry, academia and startups play in building this flexible, future-ready AI ecosystem, especially when it comes to skilling and training, since we were talking about this, young talent? So how can we, how can the government or industry, they can come together?
I mean, it's already happening, right? Industry, if you look at how at least the tech industry and a lot of other large industries, one of their biggest investments today is in the reskilling of their workforce. So this is already happening. Government and industry are collaborating to help accelerate the momentum. And my last organization, NASSCOM, we had worked with government to create Future Skills, which is a platform designed to reskill the tech workforce. Right, so and that was being supported by Government of India, by MITI, right, is still being supported. So there's a lot of collaboration that's going on. Industry is creating new content, they're upgrading curriculum. So I think everybody understands the urgency, but I think if there's one change that's needed, we need a whole of government approach to this talent, to the talent challenge that we have, because we do have a lot of good work, but again, it happens in silos, it's fragmented, and therefore the impact doesn't scale at the speed and, you know, to the extent it needs to.
It needs to come in the front.
Yeah, so that's why the AI talent mission that has been proposed by NITI is to really create that whole of government approach and bring in the agility, the empowerment to drive the change that is needed.
And ma'am, since we're talking about AI for Viksit Bharat Roadmap, India's AI Impacts Summit, which is going to happen in February, I'm sure a lot of audience is interested in knowing about that. Could you give us a little overview of the summit's main goal and why it is called as India AI Impact Summit? Yeah,
you know, that's something I think we all are very proud of, because the AI Summit started around 4 years back, right? The first one happened in UK, Bletchley Park, where the focus was on safety. And one of the key deliverables or outcome of that summit was everyone agreeing to create the safety institutes across the world to focus on safe AI, safe and trusted AI, which is great. Then you had Korea, then you had Paris last year.
Right.
And I think in Paris, they shifted away from safety and governance, and it was a very, very clear shift that we will now focus on action. So if you remember, the Paris Summit was called AI Action Summit. And as part of action, very interestingly, the dialogue moved not just towards implementation, urgency of implementation, but also the importance of control. Which country controls what, right? So that was a very interesting narrative that came out of Paris. And I think kudos to our Prime Minister, because when India was thinking about the India Summit, hosting the India Summit, I think it was very clear that the biggest requirement today in the world of AI is impact creation. Otherwise, we are just talking about what AI can do. We keep talking about what it can do, what's the potential, what's the promise, but where's the real impact? And I think that narrative has to change. We have to move from promise of AI to real results, right? And I think India saying that we are going to call our summit the India Impact Summit sends a very, very strong signal that it is now time to stop, thinking about all the great things AI can do and really get very real about how do we translate this promise into impact, what is needed to create impact.
Right, and it's also happening first in the global south. So in the context of global south and the pressing needs of emerging countries, economies, how can India use this platform to help other developing nations? Can India become the voice of the global south for inclusive AI?
Not can. I think we absolutely must. And this summit has 7 key committees, right? That's and I have the privilege of co-chairing the committee on economic impact, economic development and societal good. And my co-chairs are Netherlands and Indonesia. And we have over 40 countries participating in our just our working group. The dialogue, the debate, the discussion. And it's very clear that there is a need to create, to figure out how to unlock the pathways to impact. How every country is doing good work, but again, it's in silos. So how do you unlock the pathways that will move impact from silos to scale at a global level? And how do we ensure that everyone's voice is heard? It has to be inclusive. And lastly, how do we ensure that people can learn from each other? Because that will accelerate the journey to impact significantly if we all stop reinventing the wheel and we learn from what's happening around us and then drive a collective action. So I think the need for collective action has come out very strongly, and the need for inclusive agenda where every voice is heard, I think is becoming a key foundation of the work we are doing.
Also, ma'am, the report flags several risks, linked with AI adoption. So, in India's context, what are the key challenges we should be mindful of?
I think the biggest one is the job displacement. Because if we don't manage this well, this will be a huge social disruption for the country, given how young our population is. So that's what worries me the most. Then, of course, you talk about bias, you talk about cognitive warfare, where you're using AI to create these deep fakes, and this is becoming such a, this can challenge in elections in so many countries, etc. So all of these things can come together. The good thing is India, NITI, has just come out with a very sensible AI governance framework for the country. And I was privileged to be part of that committee, and I really think what India has done with that framework can set the tone for other countries, because I think so far when you look at all the governance frameworks around the world, I think what we have done tries to achieve a very reasonable and sensible balance between innovation and safety. And that's been the most difficult part of working on that committee, is how do you achieve that balance, But I think we've done a reasonably good job. And of course, as we keep learning, we will continue to improve. But we haven't gone to the one end of the spectrum where it's all about regulation and then you suddenly find innovation getting stifled. Or we haven't gone to the other end of the spectrum where it's completely free to do whatever you want, and then you find citizens' interests being compromised, So I think we've tried to achieve that mid path. So that governance framework will of course play a critical role.
Definitely, because data security and safety is paramount. This is my last question. What will India look like in 10 years because of AI, according to you?
That completely depends on us and the actions we take today. AI is just a tool. AI will do what we want it to do. what we decide to do with it. So if it depends on us humans, the human accountability is very, very important, and we can't delegate that to AI, right? If we decide and if we take the right actions, we can, in the next 10 years, within this decade, completely reinvent every single sector across the economy. We can reimagine what productivity will look like for the informal workforce. We can reimagine education in this country. We can reimagine healthcare in this country. We can reimagine governance in this country, so that government and citizens really come together. You know, you talk about citizen centricity. So again, it's not about what AI can do. It's about what we humans want to do with
how
AI,
we adopt
and
it.
what, you know, how hungry are we, how committed are we, and how we are willing to use it in these 10 years. That will decide where we are or where we won't be in the next 10 years.
Absolutely, ma'am. And you know, the AI for Viksit Bharat roadmap is a bold step towards making India a global AI powerhouse. If executed well, it can bridge growth gaps, create millions of future-ready jobs, and place India at the forefront of responsible and inclusive AI. With that, we come to the end of this special episode. Ms. Ghosh, thank you so much for your time and for offering such thoughtful insights on this particular topic. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. And to our viewers, thank you for your time as well. Stay tuned and keep watching Sunset TV.